So we're talking about fake key grooves, and we're going to do a little case study today on the ARE Tannue cover keys. All right. So if you look in the picture here, you're going to see it's an actual Stratec key, and you're going to see a code on it. You can see the arrow pointed to it, and the arrow shows that the code is a 0009. And by looking at that key in the photo, you can see that as a nice big old groove right down the top. And you're right, ARE truck tops. All right, so you can see the code is a 0009. You can see that Stratec key, all of the fun stuff right there. Now check this out. When I put the code into generic code, this is what pops up. Okay, you can see that 0009 code, and you look under the blanks, and you're going to see two different blanks. You're going to see the Stratec, which you just saw in that picture a second ago, the 322861, and then you're going to also see the Ilco 1660. Okay, so everything going on so far so good. But then when we look at the Ilco key, it looks like this, right? Where's that big groove? Where is that big groove? All right, that brings me to my next point here. All right, let me take a sip of topo. Here's one of the locks right here. As you can see, here is the Stratec 322861. I think what is it? Yeah, 322861. You can see them right here. All right, here's the keys. We had a couple open, so I took them out. And then right here, you can see is the Ilco 1660. Now, it can be very confusing in a lot of ways that when you look at the generic code screen and you see it calls for these two keys, well, there is a difference, right? A big groove difference. And that's really what I want to get at today with these truck top keys. All right. And of course, here's a cylinder. Here is the 1660. All right. That goes in. And here's the other one. I haven't even tried this before the live, so I'm actually a little scared. But yeah, there you go. And there's the Stratec one. All right. So they both go in here. So essentially, when you look at this Stratec key, this groove right here, it's fake. All right. It's absolutely fake. And it's kind of a weird thing. I would actually love to know why the key has the groove, you know? And I'm also a little curious why Ilco, when they made their own version of this key, they didn't put the groove in there. I would have never, in this case, realized, okay, what's going on here without the groove. So if you find yourself need to make a key for an ARE Tannue cover based on if you buy the Ilco or the Stratec version, they're going to be a little different. And more importantly, your customer key might look different than the one you pull off yourself. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. This is why it's important. Let's say maybe it's the Lockfather's Lock Shop. Someone brings in their Tannue cover key. Maybe they bring in a quick set key, and then they bring in, and this key's on it too, and they want one of each. I don't know. Could happen. If that happens and they go looking through their wall and they're just looking at the keys and they didn't use ideniKey, or maybe they used ideniKey and it brings up this Ilco key, what do? Do you tell the customer you don't have it? I don't know. And that's kind of the point that I want to discuss here. And the bigger picture here is that if you don't know this, you might tell the customer you don't have it. Maybe you'll spend more on the Stratec keys. They're, I believe, a considerable amount more than the Ilco ones. So you could be spending extra money for nothing. But this is my question for you. How many other locks are out there that you think the groove matters, but it doesn't? How many? I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I do know this one, though. I do know this one. So the lesson, if you haven't watched this video and someone brings in this Stratec key and you see this Ilco one hanging on the wall, are you turning them down What are you doing? You try it in the lock. So next time you come across a random key that looks similar, maybe you just put, a little tension wrench in there and you grab your flashlight, or in Adrian Bozeman Vibes Holly's terms, you grab your light and you just look down there in that keyway and you see exactly what's going on. It might help you out when you're looking for the right key. Don't be afraid to experiment and look around a little bit. So anyways, I hope this was helpful with the ARE and kind of open your eyes. It's kind of bizarre to me, honestly. Even on it, like I didn't even test this before I did this video, honestly. So I'm like, oh boy. But yeah, no. It's how essentially all of them are. I've never seen one a different way. So just keep that in mind as you're doing that lock and key work out there. All right. Yes, Rupa. For the record, ideniKey can tell the difference. All right. ideniKey can tell the difference. And as a matter of fact, if you put either one of these in, or if you put this in, you should get the Stratec and you should get the Ilco versions. But without knowing this information, honestly, and you put this key in, okay, and it pulled up the Ilco 1660, would you think ideniKey is right or not? That's a good question. I think that's a good question to ask. But I might not even, to be honest, if I didn't know this. So anyways, keep this in mind, especially on these are, pretty good locks, I would say overall. But a lot of the utility type locks, you might find some fake grooves. And even in some of the comments here, it really makes me want to try to put what will go into an H75 key. I don't know. Maybe one of you should experiment and only just don't mess anything up. All right. But yes, and make sure you're checking those grooves inside there. Okay, make sure you're checking those.